Hi everybody, it's Kathy Corley with Joyful Living, and today I'd like to talk a little bit about mold. Obviously here in the DMV we have been having in excess amounts of rain, and so mold is a prevalent issue in our world, both inside the houses and outside the houses. And I'm going to say it kind of doesn't matter if your house is clean or dry, you're still going to have mold inside and obviously outside. So let's talk a little bit about what mold is and how we can work to control the amount of mold that we have in our house, because it's not good for any of us, whether we have a mold allergy or we have asthma or whatever. It's just not necessarily a great critter, but we have to work with it. So mold, there are hundreds of types of mold. There's good mold, there's toxic mold, and we need to know a little bit about the difference. Mold is organic. Like I said, it's going to grow inside as well as outside. It needs to have something to eat, and it needs oxygen, and it needs moisture in order to grow. And so those are the things that we have to think about when we're looking at our house. I used to think that it was silly to have a dehumidifier in the house, but I'll tell you, my first summer at my current home, we were having a wet summer, and it wasn't even quite summer yet. I went downstairs and my whole slab was just full of water condensation, and I was like, well, I guess there it is. I need a dehumidifier. I went to the store thinking that it would be a relatively inexpensive item, and boy was I surprised at the price tag of a dehumidifier, but it serves us well. We are still using that same dehumidifier, so if you care for them, you know, you can have it for an extended period of time. It's a good use of money. Dehumidifiers can have a hose attached to the back so that it automatically drains into your basement drain or sink, wherever, or you can leave it so that you have to dump it on a daily kind of basis. In this type of weather that we've been having, we're dumping ours multiple times a day, so having that drain is quite a task nicer. However, if you have it so that you're dumping it, you can move that dehumidifier around, and sometimes that's helpful too, because if you have water come in one part of your house, you can move it there to help dry it out after you get the excess water out, and that's nice. So, you know, different ideas for use of that dehumidifier. And I do dry my clothes on a rack in my basement, so having that dehumidifier is great because it helps speed up the amount of time that it takes to dry my clothes. I like that. You can also set a dehumidifier to a percentage, so it doesn't necessarily run all the time. It runs as needed, which is also helpful. Okay, back to the mold situation. So, toxic mold is something that we're hearing more and more about. Not all toxic mold is necessarily black mold. That's just the one we hear the most about. And, you know, when I was a kid, you never heard about mold, and especially toxic mold. But in the world that we're living in today, we hear more and more about toxic mold. And that's because since the 1970s, buildings have become more airtight. And so with that airtightness, mold has a better chance of living in those buildings. They're less ventilated, and they trap the moist air inside, and that provides the perfect breeding ground for mold. Okay, so some things we can do to control mold are to control those humidity levels inside, fix areas of our property that leak, possibly the roof, windows, pipes. If you have a way in through the basement, that's another avenue to fix. If you do have a situation where you get water inside the house, Make sure that you dry that out as soon as possible and clean that up. And also ventilate. You know, when we go in and take a shower, if we don't ventilate that, either by opening the window or turning on the exhaust fan, that's going to be a breeding ground. The kitchen where we're cooking and having a lot of warmer air is also a good breeding ground, and the laundry. So ventilating our house is a great way to help us keep our home less infested with the different types of mold. Okay, that is my quick tip today on mold. Give us a shout at 240-297-1020 or look us up on the web at buyinghomesfromu.com. Have a great day, guys.